Welcome, folks. Our topic for today is managing product backlog. And product backlog is a very important artifact for any agile team. So I'm looking forward, of course, to the link of the discussion. So please add your topics to the board. I will share the slide. I will share the link. And let's start with the first topic for today. So just to make it clear, there are two backlogs. There are two backlogs in Scrum, right? There is a product backlog and there is a sprint backlog. So the product backlog is everything that we want to change about our product up to our current best understanding. So all our ideas about what we want to do in order to improve our product for now, they make the product backlog. And the commitment for the product backlog is the product goal. This is more of a long-term commitment, right? While the sprint backlog is the scope of work for the Scrum team for one sprint. So today we're going to talk about the product backlog. And in case if you are interested in topics related to sprint backlog, then you might find interesting these two sessions that we had previously. You can find the recordings on this on the website teamleadsky.com/talks. So there are all the recordings of all the sessions that took place previously. All right. So coming back to the product backlog. Yeah, let's get it straight. Let's get the definition straight. So product is a vehicle to deliver value, and the product goal, the commitment of the product backlog, describes this future state of the product, future state that will allow it to generate that will allow us to generate more value. Then the product backlog actually describes how we are going to get to that state, to that future state. So what has to be implemented, what has to be changed about the product in order so that it would obtain these capabilities that would help us capture in the product goal, that would help us to generate more value. Today, we're going to touch upon the topics of the product backlog health, alignment of the backlog with the overall business objectives, and efficient collaboration with different roles around the product backlog. So, product goals. One thing that I would like to mention about the product goals is that it is important not to confuse the product goals with such things like roadmap milestones or business objectives. So what is the difference? The difference is that, first of all, roadmap milestones are usually time-based. So they're bound to, these are the deliverables that are bound to certain dates or time frames. And as well, product roadmaps contain different information which does not belong to the product. While so different external information like external events that have an impact on the desired schedule of our deliverables. And talking about the business objectives, quite often, by the way, the teams that are working within the OKRs framework try to set their objectives as their product goals. The idea behind is clear, the intention is plausible. At the same time, that doesn't usually work out well due to the reason that it takes time to measure the completion of the business objectives. Let me illustrate this with an example. So let's say you want to increase your retention rate and you know that there is a certain conference upcoming in Paris, and it would be like most efficient to deliver a certain feature that you expect to increase the retention for that particular event. And this is a part of your roadmap. In this case, I would formulate the product goal in the following way, as implementing that particular feature and probably setting up the everything which is needed to run an A/B test, and have that as your product goal. Excuse me, because in this case, the product team can complete their work and move on and focus on the other goals, and they don't have to wait until you release the feature, start the A/B test, complete the A/B test, analyze the outcomes, and then assess whether you have reached this 7% increase or not. So that allows you to declutter your backlog and also achieve this completion feeling at the right time for the product teams. So let's move on. And talking about the actual product backlog items and what is a good way to describe them, then of course they have to be clear, concise, and actionable. And I would say that in this criteria give very good guidelines on how to write your product backlog items. The user stories session gives some more information on that. You're most welcome to check it out. You can find it on the website, teamleadsky.com/talks. Okay, by the way, folks, I see that a lot of people have joined meanwhile. So let me post first of all, welcome. And then let me post the Miro board link. Please join the Miro board and add there your topics for the link of the discussion. So let's move on. And talking about the backlog management, talking about the backlog itself, then of course there are the so-called deep characteristics of the product backlog, which also provide a very good guideline. The backlog items should be detailed appropriately, which is common sense. They have to be estimated so that you could prioritize. And the backlog is emergent. So we always can have another good idea about how we want to improve our product and add it to the product backlog. That also means that product backlog has to be open for different roles in the company. And finally, prioritized. I would like to add as well to that, that it makes sense to keep your product backlog short and well structured. Talking about short, it really helps when you review your backlog frequently and remove from there the backlog items that either make no sense or no one already understands them. It happens often, or you're not going to work on this product backlog items in a foreseeable future. So then it's better to kick them out because otherwise your backlog is simply cluttered and it's difficult to wrap your mind around it. Just keep it short, keep it simple. That really helps. Then talking about structuring, that's a matter of that's a matter of a personal attitude, of course, but I prefer to have the backlog. I prefer to not have or have as little as possible of backlog items which are not assigned to certain epics, because that also allows you to filter efficiently, and that allows you to keep an eye on how well what is remaining for the completion of your certain epics, where do you stand against the product goal. So I usually try to, and we're working in Jira, a lot of people are working in Jira, I know. So it really makes sense to, at least it works for me, to have an epic for each product goal, and then have the user stories as the backlog items that belong to that product goal, and then the subtasks or the technical tasks which the development teams discuss, refine, and then work on. Talking about the prioritizing the backlog items, these three approaches are very helpful, and you can find a lot of information about this on the web. So the way how it works for me to use them is using the, when necessary, like not always, but using the Kano model in order to identify the items for different buckets of the most prioritization, and then look at the perceived impact and effort in order to already determine the sequence in which we are going to develop the items. And of course, keep in mind that everything that you have while you're working with these models are only your assumptions. Nothing is real before you get the feedback from your customers reducing the certain features. So the impact that we have here in this matrix is again, you of course you can calculate the expected reach. Let's say there are other frameworks for that, but don't try to be very precise in this. These are all just mind tools that help you in your decision making, and they don't have to prevent you from moving fast. So talking about the refinement, first of all, there is no event, a separate event in Scrum for the refinement. Nevertheless, I would say that the refinement, product backlog refinement, it is beneficial when it is done on a regular cadence. Nevertheless, it is at the same time, it is a continuous process. So you don't have to limit your refinement efforts to that particular time slot in your calendar. And don't be shy to call on-demand refinements when you need them. So why am I saying that regular cadence is beneficial for the refinement? One of the reasons is that I think most of us are working either in a hybrid mode or remotely nowadays, and we don't, which has a lot of amazing benefits. At the same time, we don't meet our peers that often, so it always helps to understand each other better. It always helps to bring people together and brainstorm a little bit about the tasks at hand. So in this sense, having the refinement blocked in your calendar as a separate event is usually helpful. At the same time, please mind, and the following 2 points, I'm happy to discuss this in the link office session, but this is what works for me. First of all, having rather thorough refinements, long refinements, and at the same time that allows you to have really short plannings. As well, inviting not everyone to every refinement. Like, let me explain why I find this approach efficient. In almost with almost every team I used to work, we had if it's a big team, if it's like 8 people team, 10 people team, then we always had this issue during the plannings that some people who will never work on these tasks, they also have to stay in the call or stay in the room and listen to the things that are not really very relevant to them. And of course, we want to use the time and energy of our colleagues, of everyone in the development teams efficiently, and we don't want to make people stay in the meetings, in the boring meetings. That's the most popular complaint, right? That meetings are awful. So for that, in order to avoid this this complaint, in order to avoid the situation when people are staying in the meetings that are not relevant to them, it makes sense to do an in-deep, like really in-deep refinements with the smaller groups of people, not necessarily only group of people who will be working on the backlog items being refined, but involve also the people who have the relevant expertise. So maybe someone senior, someone who was already working on that functionality or with the technology. So they also have to be a part of these small groups. But this is not it's not a must that all the team should sit there and go through the whole refinement for every backlog items. We can be more flexible there and make the process more efficient and free up focus time for the team members. Okay, so let's talk about some drivers and restrainers for efficient backlog management to sum up this quick recap. So talking about the drivers, of course, I would say that product owners' experience and soft skills play a huge role in the success of refinement. So product owner is the person who owns the refinement process. And the same situation, the same situation, because we are never working in an ideal situation, right? Always some information is missing, some dependencies are annoying, like some other team is not doing something that your team wants, and so on and so forth, and management is very annoying also all the time, right? So you always have some kind of issues, right? And it depends on you as a product manager how you're going to address this, and you can make it a really stressful meeting, or you can make it a constructive meeting, and that depends on your experience of handling the situations, and that greatly depends on the soft skills of the product owner. Or a Scrum Master, like invite a Scrum Master if you know that you need some help there. All right, then of course clear roadmap and priors help. Clear roadmap and priors help you to decide which backlog items are you going to refine in this limited amount of time that you have for your scheduled regular or ad hoc refinement session. Why this is important? Because it, and I know that many product managers want to have most of their backlog or their backlog for like few months ahead refined, which is not always the optimal way, because keep in mind, we are all people, we simply forget things on one hand, and on the other hand, our environment is changing very rapidly. So if you may spend like a couple of hours refining some sophisticated backlog items that you might be working on, or that you know you will be working on in 1 month, let's say. This is on your roadmap. But then when the time comes, first of all, some people who participated in the refinement, they will forget like most of the things discussed. Some people may be maybe already not working with you, which also happens. And also the situation may change, your roadmap may change. So don't plan too far ahead, or don't plan in a too detailed way too far ahead. That's not always the most efficient way. Well-defined product goals help you to align with the team about what has to be done, and help you to align with the team on when the certain goal is completed. So again, don't confuse the product goals with the business objectives or PR objectives or product milestones, as we have discussed. Yes, regular and timely sessions make sense to sync with the team and refine the tickets, especially with your remote team, on a regular basis. And at the same time, don't be shy. If you see that you need to block a few hours of your team members and clarify everything, that usually pays off. Taking this time, clarifying things, and rather than doing this when you already developed it. Talking about restrainers. So incomplete participation, meaning here that again you don't have to call all of your team for every refinement meeting, but you have to be attentive about who should be present, and not necessarily these are only the people who will be working on the backlog items being refined, but there might be some people who have the expertise you need, and you need to make sure that they are part of the refinement in case that you are being flexible and making a following the small groups approach. Then communication issues. It is important that, and this is again on on us as product managers, team leads, scrum masters, to make sure that people are not afraid to share their ideas, not afraid that they will be somehow attacked for saying something stupid, because nothing can be worse, and nothing can be more harmful for the culture, for innovating, than people being afraid to share their ideas because they will be attacked. At the same time, not challenging each other is also doesn't help you to refine your backlog items well, doesn't help you to build on top of each other's ideas. So again, as team leaders, product owners, and scrum masters, we need to foster this culture of healthy, constructive discussion. And finally, the ineffective tools usage. That surprisingly happens often. And this is in most cases in our hands. We can often eliminate this annoying problem. I'm talking about the inefficient Jira setup, for example, or having to click dozens of times in order to create a ticket and select there some multiple fields that no one really knows how they're used. That happens quite a lot. And also, so try to simplify this. As well, the complicated Jira workflows pull a leg quite often. To be honest, I never saw any benefit from designing some kind of a, I think all of you have seen this flow charts of how the tickets are moving, how the tickets are allowed to move and how they're not allowed to move, what are the restrictions there. And I wonder, if we are trusting people to build sophisticated software systems that drive businesses, then why do we not trust people to be able to move Jira tickets in the right way? So usually I start with, when I start working in a team that has some kind of sophisticated Jira workflow, I start with destroying, removing this workflow at all, and replacing it with the workflow that says the transitions I allowed from all states to all states for all types of tickets, and then just defining the column names for the Jira board. And I never had issues with that. And I often had issues when something gets stuck within this very well thought through, sophisticated workflow. So don't create yourself artificial obstacles. Again, keep it rather simple with Jira. Okay. So this is everything that I wanted to share as a short recap. These are some links that you might, relevant links that you might find interesting. I will also share this slide deck together with the recording in the meetup groups. And now let's complete the recap and move on to the discussion.